this person asked, how do I stop being so anxious all the time? Loaded question. I would also like the answer to this. So Jacob, go right ahead.
Yeah, no, great question. That's a great question. There's a lot of responsibility with that question.
Yeah. Good luck.
But in all seriousness, that's such an understandable. I mean, I don't have a lot of context, a lot of information with this question, but especially given this time, there's a lot of anxiety in general. So I'm not really too sure kind of the layers of this experience of this person, but I do hear like that desire, that cry. I don't want to say cry, but that desire for help, that desire for. I'm also hearing like this desire for connection, like kind of like help me out, kind of be with me in a sense. But anxiety, what that does is it's sort of like this hamster wheel. It just keeps us going, and at times it can keep people away as well. So taking some time, to find someone to connect with. That's it's a kind of a big task as well. But having someone that's safe and secure, that's not judgmental, having some time to have your heart be heard, have your mind be heard, is a great way to try to alleviate some of that anxiety. But also taking some time to write it out as well, like externalizing it, can also kind of alleviate some of some of this feeling of anxiety also. But I think a big piece of it, sometimes anxiety is this. I want to say this is what it is universally, but sometimes anxiety can be this, I don't want to say facade, but it's kind of like the outer shell maybe of a deeper emotion.
That's good.
Okay, there's anxiety that's here, it's running around, but what if I sat down and felt it? What's underneath the anxiety? Is it like a deeper level of sadness that's maybe not being touched? Or maybe a deeper level of anger that hasn't been touched? So sometimes this anxiousness, this anxiety keeps us running, but sometimes it's keeping us running from a deeper experience, from a deeper emotion. So I know that wasn't necessarily the question, or answering the question necessarily like, here it is, here are these steps, but what I'm kind of hitting at is how do we undo some of that loneliness, but also how do we get have a safe spot to where we can be connected, be heard, and be felt.
Right.
Yeah, so those are a couple things that come to my mind, and honestly, sometimes having discussions in regards to medication. I know that's kind of not necessarily the funnest word to use at times, but maybe even talking to a therapist, talking to a counselor, picking their brain, like, is this something I need to consider? Because sometimes that can be helpful to kind of turn down some of the static, because sometimes anxiety is just this really static, loud experience, and sometimes that can be helpful just to turn it down so we can talk about it.
Yeah, no, I think, I mean, you touched on it, but I think even just talking to a counselor in general can be so helpful when you're battling anxiety, especially, finding that root, that underlying issue or struggle that might be there, and having a counselor who knows the questions to ask, who, wants to listen to you and hear, what you're struggling with can be super important. So yeah, it's a loaded question.
Yeah, it's but such a good, all these questions are timely. All of these questions are definitely timely. But yeah, so hopefully, just going back to what you stated earlier, just having that place to dig some of that out, to experience that. I mean, in some ways, I once heard a psychiatrist say, or a therapist say, that anxiety is sort of like it's a kind of like a smoke alarm. If you think about, or smoke detectors. Smoke detectors are about safety. It's not about accuracy. Like, for example, if I have a candle burning and it picks that up, it's detecting like the smoke. It's detecting that. It's not necessarily detecting the danger of it. So sometimes taking that time of connecting with someone over that anxiety to dig a little bit deeper, like you said, it can be extremely helpful.